Recording stopped. Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Running on different blockchains. For now, it is integrated with Ethereum blockchain and Flow blockchain. But in the future, Matrix team plans to integrate it with other blockchains also, such as Solana, Avalanche, and other blockchains. The second speaker is Miss Blair. She is the Chief Business Officer of White Matrix. She will be sharing her ideas on how blockchain gaming is taking the crypto ecosystem to the next level. The lecture by Ms. Blair will introduce how blockchain game matters the way people live and how the game introduces its own ecosystem across the actual world. So I would like to invite Mr. Kale to start his speech now.
All right, hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about Matrix World. We are going to dive into some of the different features, talk about a general overview of how this Metaverse project is different from many of the others we see today. We're going to talk about what the project and team is working on, what we're building towards, what's coming up, and we might get to some FAQ at the end. So first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Kyle. I am the CMO of Matrix Labs. I joined the group recently, a little over a month ago. Some of you may know me by this NFT avatar I use in our Discord server for Matrix World. I'm a longtime blockchain enthusiast. I first heard about Bitcoin back in around 2011 when my friends told me I should mine some. I thought it was too much work to make a few dollars a month, so I actually skipped that opportunity. Silly of me. And then I also did some trading back in 2013, again with Bitcoin mainly. And I've been following the space and interested ever since. Now I still invest. I also dabble in some NFTs. The Metaverse. All right, so now let's talk about Matrix World. First, I want to tell you the team's vision, right? We want to create a Turing-complete multi-chain metaverse that provides users with a higher level of customization, a better experience, more possibilities, right? We don't want them to be held back by some of the shortcomings of the current projects. We also want Matrix World to be very friendly to creators. We want it to be a metaverse where very advanced developers can leverage their skills and create complex dApps. But at the same time, someone with no development experience can come in and build their land and enjoy the project. We also want Matrix World to be a very immersive experience. We want users to be able to stay in the metaverse when they're interacting with different smart contracts, different applications, and external services, instead of being brought out to a web page. And it's going to be a socially focused metaverse. Of course, there will be gaming, there will be dApps, but it doesn't have gameplay at the core mechanic as something like the sandbox. Okay, so today we're going to go over some features to start, some of the important aspects of this metaverse, right? So some of the key features in my mind are the multi-chain connectivity, the immersive 3D dApps, decentralized applications, programmable NFTs and objects, the convenient and automated tooling that the team is building, the space name server we are offering to go along with that to, again, make it more convenient. And of course, it's decentralized, right? Similar to Minecraft, the BYOD, bring your own device style, users will be able to host their own SVMs to make this more of a decentralized metaverse. So let's jump in with the multi-chain connectivity. Okay. So multi-chain and cross-chain are a little different. I think this is a good place to start. Some people hear multi-chain, they think, okay, we have land on Flow, we have land on Ethereum. Can I bring my Flow land to the Ethereum network? That would be cross-chain. Multi-chain is a little different, but multi-chain is going to help us connect users with these different ecosystems, these different networks when they are in the metaverse, right? So when you're in the metaverse, you don't have to leave, you don't have to sign into something else. You can interact with a Flow contract or an Ethereum contract, right? These different networks in one fluid, immersive experience. So that's the difference. Multi-chain is giving you access to the ecosystems, the smart contracts, the things built on many different chains with one front end from the same world, right? Cross-chain would be bringing an item from one chain onto another chain. I think this is really a very cool feature about Matrix World in this metaverse. If we look at some of the big competitors, right? We have Decentraland, the Sandbox, and CryptoVoxels, all fairly popular metaverse projects. But all of these are single chain metaverse projects. They all run on the Ethereum ecosystem. And in our minds, there are some problems with the single chain metaverse. You only get access to one ecosystem of developers, of users, right? And it's very limiting. If you think of the grand idea of the metaverse, it should be this virtual world, this virtual place where you can just interact with all of these digital assets, regardless of the chain they're on, regardless of the network they're on. So we believe multi-chain is the next step. We first had games, which are owned by a centralized company, right? And then we took a step to single chain style metaverses, which are better, right? You do get access to that whole ecosystem, But the next step, the next evolution is having a metaverse where you have access to many, many, many different ecosystems, many different blockchain networks. So that's one of our big goals. And that is something the team does have experience with. They've done some research in this area, but we'll talk about that later. So continuing with this multi-chain theme, let's look at some of the pieces of this, right? First, we have identity. So the multi-chain identity system tech that Matrix Labs is developing for this, it will maintain a user identity across multiple blockchains, right? So you have one identity that is connected with multiple wallets, multiple blockchains. You don't have a different identity with each blockchain network and each wallet. Of course, we currently support Flow and Ethereum, but we plan to expand that. There are a few other networks we are thinking of. Next, the external contracts. So with this multi-chain connectivity, users will be able to fluidly interact with smart contracts on different networks, right? So again, we want to remove these limitations that these single chain metaverses have, where you can only operate and interact with one of these ecosystems. We also plan to have connectivity to external services. So not only will you be able to access these blockchain networks, these smart contracts, you'll also be able to, access marketplaces, storage protocols, streaming services like YouTube and things like that. We want everything to be accessible within the world to make this a very immersive experience. We don't want you going out to external links or opening up a new web browser window to just scroll through the marketplace as you would on its website. And finally, this is all extensible, right? As we said, we currently support Flow and Ethereum, but this can be easily expanded to different networks. Who knows what will happen, but maybe BSC or Avalanche, Solana, there are so many opportunities to expand this and to connect these different ecosystems, right? This is very beneficial for the users because it gives them more possibilities, more ways to interact. They can access assets that they have on all different networks. And at the same time, it's very good for the creators because it gives them a larger user base, right? It gives them more flexibility. It allows them to make more interesting dApps. So with that said, let's move on to the dApps. Another big thing, as we talked about, is we want to have 3D dApps, right? Immersive dApps. We want going to the OpenSea marketplace, for example, to be an in-world experience, not something you do on your browser or in another window. So we're going to do everything we can to enable creators to build these dApps, to have them live in the world, right? And that's another big goal of this project. We want to be one of the first, if not the first, immersive dApp platform. As you may know, we are partnered with Chain IDE, and we want to leverage this huge developer ecosystem and bring them on board to Matrix World. We want to have this be just, as we said, just a center for these immersive dApps, a platform for these immersive dApps. And that would be something very different, something that these other metaverse projects aren't really looking into, aren't really doing as far as I know. Okay, so moving forward to the next one here. Programmable NFTs and objects. I would say this makes the third major difference, the third very unique thing about Matrix World. So users are going to be able to program their objects. They're going to be able to import their NFTs and program those, right? This is how we're going to build these immersive dApps and give this ability. So let's jump in by looking at this chart here, okay? This chart gives a nice overview of the structure here, okay? So we have 4 main things to understand from this, right? The NFT aspect, the matrix objects aspect, the space virtual machines, and the matrix network itself, okay? So NFTs, we'll start there. That's going to be pretty simple. We are allowing users to import their NFTs and to make them into matrix objects. The reverse will also be true. Users will be able to take their matrix objects and make them into NFTs potentially. Okay? But we have to dive into the matrix objects to understand that a little bit better. So if you're familiar with programming and development, this is similar to object-oriented programming. We have scene objects and entity objects. The scene object is the top-level object, the parent object. And the entity objects are all of the child objects, the children objects. Okay? Sometimes we call the scene objects scenes. So this is like the container, if you would, the set of rules for all of the children objects below it. So you'll be able to make your NFT into one of these entity objects, and you can program it as such. And you can program it into a larger scene, which may be your DApp, it may be a game, right? So let's go a little deeper in that and look at the layout of a matrix object, right? So you have your functions that you can program into it, and you're also able to control things like the physics, the texture or mesh on it, right? Some other things like the shaders, the lighting. So you can do the modeling side of it, and you can program behind this all with these tools we're going to create, right? So these programmable objects will allow us to build these dApps. And we need some compute resources to run these on. This is where the space virtual machines come in, okay? Now, if we go back a slide, you can see the space virtual machine is just above the scene object. The space virtual machine will be the compute resources and the memory that's used to run these programs, to run these dApps. This will be tied to your land. So your land will have a certain amount of resources allocated to it. You can merge your lands together into something called a space, and you can combine their resources to make your virtual machine more powerful and to allow you to create more complex dApps, more complex programs. Okay? And these space virtual machines are currently hosted by Matrix Labs, right? But in the future, we are bringing in that bring your own device concept. So users will be able to host their own space virtual machine that runs the applications for their land, for their scenes. Now, when we connect all of these SVMs together, this is going to create the matrix network. You can have these different SVMs and their applications interacting with each other. You can even have applications that are using multiple SVMs, okay? And this is what we call the matrix network. This will be the platform. This will be the network of all of these connected immersive 3D dApps that brings the life to Matrix World, that makes it a little bit different, a little bit more interactive. And as you can see by this, I know many of you are developers, this just allows for a lot of different possibilities in this metaverse, giving you the power to do Turing-complete programming with these objects, making these dApps. But not everybody's a developer, and that's where our tooling is going to come in. So the team is developing convenient tooling to help less experienced developers or people with no development experience to still be able to enjoy these features and this functionality. Some of these tools include a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Model editor, okay? this model editor, as we were talking about earlier, is going to let people adjust the shaders, the lighting, texture, some other things like this. We're going to have a scene editor as well to control your scenes, to make that a little bit easier for people who aren't too experienced with development. Excuse me. We're also going to have automated templates available. So for some people who really just don't understand the development side of things, they could buy a template on a marketplace, and this will help automate the process for them. It will make it much simpler. And for you experienced devs, you can actually create and sell these templates in the Matrix World marketplace. And one last thing we want to add for convenience, it's called the space name server. So we want it to be very easy, very convenient for these users to access the different spaces and lands in Matrix World. We're going to create a space name server where your space can be named something simple, something convenient, easy to remember, and users can use that to easily navigate to your space, to find it, and to get to it. So recapping that, we have a multi-chain metaverse, right? That is also programmable, and that is going to host many, many, many different 3D dApps. And we're going to bring this accessibility to people without development experience through these different tools we're making. So that's kind of the heart, the idea behind this Metaverse project. And that brings about a lot of different use cases, right? So just to give the overview, it's anything from socializing and networking to trade, games and entertainment, education, work, earning even. Socializing and networking, this is going to be a core of this metaverse, right? You can have social clubs in the metaverse. You can have meetups. Maybe you're part of an NFT club like Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Or Space Punks Club. You can have a little clubhouse in the metaverse. You can have meetups. You can even do virtual conferences. This has been more popular as COVID has continued and many in-person meetings weren't possible. Instead, you can do a virtual conference, right? Trade, you can make a virtual shop, virtual marketplace, and of course your dApps can be hosted on this as well. Games and entertainment, I think we all know that's going to be one of the core features. Building blockchain games, having virtual entertainment and events like esports, right? Or other sporting events, concerts, the list goes on. And something that's often overlooked, but we also want this to be a core of our metaverse, would be education and, right? Virtual meetings, virtual office space can be part of that. But also virtual lectures, virtual universities. Our team really wants to grow and help developers. That's why we take part in different boot camps like these. And we would love to have universities and learning spaces, learning centers in our metaverse, right? We can use these to host classes, to host events, and to help teach people. They can come online and learn in an interesting way, in a fun way. And of course, as always, there's the chance to earn, right? Whether it's through DeFi or GameFi dApps, or as we said earlier, selling your in-world creations. Maybe you make a template for someone to use to build their land, their space. Maybe you make some models. Maybe you make some NFTs that you sell in a marketplace. And there's advertising and marketing as well. What makes these interesting and more powerful, though, is these are all multi-chain. These are all cross-chain, so you're not going to be stuck with just one ecosystem here. Now let's move on and talk about the team a little bit. So Matrix World is made by Matrix Labs. Matrix Labs was founded in Vancouver in 2017 by a group of students, tutors, and professors, all blockchain geeks at heart. A lot of them went on to have some tech jobs after school, even hold some tech lead positions. So the core of this team is very, very, very development focused. That's kind of why they brought me in to start helping out a little more on the marketing side. And now the team has grown to more than 50 members spread around the world. Of course, Vancouver is still the headquarters. So back in 2017, the team met some of the core members of Dapper Labs back when they were developing CryptoKitties. And this really inspired them to start developing their own blockchain games, such as Cell Evolution, which actually won some awards. Moving on to 2018, this is when they met with White Matrix and they helped develop Chain IDE. We'll talk about Chain IDE in a little bit here, but that's going to be a very big part of Matrix World and the growth of this community, of this ecosystem. Okay. Following that, they did quite a bit of research, quite a bit of development. So as I said, this is a very experienced dev team at the core of Matrix Labs. As we all know, 2018 was actually a pretty bad time in the crypto space, but they were still working hard, and they published some papers such as an interoperable avatar framework across multiple games and blockchains. So this was accepted to one of the top-ranked computer conferences back in 2018, and it describes an avatar framework where information is synchronized across trust subjects on different blockchains and different games, right? So this was actually firsthand experience by the team developing some multi-chain solutions in gaming and applying them. Another paper they have is called Metaverse for Social Good, a university campus prototype. Right, this was also accepted and included in ACM Multimedia 2021, a very large multimedia conference. And it was the first paper concerning a blockchain-driven metaverse to be included in a top computing conference. It's a pretty interesting one. The team helped build a metaverse that was a one-to-one replica of a university campus. And had some interesting tokenomics and things included as well. So as I said, this team has a lot of development experience. They've done the multi-chain before, they've done the metaverse before, and now we're growing. We're trying to bring in more people to help with the marketing side of things, right? To help grow partnerships, things like this. Earlier, we said that the team loves to give back to the community.
Stopped.
Matrix Labs team has actually helped to host and co-host over 100 events just like this one for blockchain developers over the past few years. So we always want to continue growing the ecosystem. All of us really, really love the blockchain ecosystem.
Recording in progress.
Right? And we just want to grow, we want to create, and we want to bring more people in so they can do the same thing. Now let's look at the roadmap here. Let's see where the project is going. So recently, we had the pre-sale, right? 5,000 lands on Ethereum, 5,000 lands on Flow. They all sold out. The price has appreciated quite a bit since then. Excuse me. So that finished up almost a month ago now. November 8 was the start of the third round. Since then, we've been trying to focus on making new partnerships, new collaborations, and working on our marketing, right? Now is really the time to build. This is a pre-alpha project, so it does take time. We're not going to have something exciting happening every single day to announce, but we are working very, very hard behind the scenes right now. That's where the focus is. So let's look at the focus here. Moving on to Q1 of 2022, the dev focus is going to be on this multi-chain identity system. So we can have that, as we talked about earlier, that identity maintained across multiple blockchain networks for one user. Similar to what they did in that paper I mentioned earlier, an interoperable avatar framework across multiple games and blockchains. So that's going to be the dev focus, along with getting our demo up and running. And the main focus on the operations side is going to be really growing the awareness of this project now, right? My plan is to do that through partnerships, collaborations, pushing through social media. You may have seen in the past few days, we've actually gone from about 13,000 followers on Twitter to over 27,000. So things are just getting started. Should be exciting to see where they go. Moving on to Q2 2022. This is when we hope to release the alpha, okay? Matrix World 1.0, a traversable world. Okay, so it will have the core 3D dApps. It will have a traversable world, and we'll have the closed beta testing for the Space Virtual Machine SDK's API. Moving forward from that, Q3 2022, we're going to be focusing on developing the World Builder and Developer API and SDK, and one for coders as well. Okay, and then 2022 Q4 is when we want to push this out. Now we'll have Matrix World 2.0, a programmable world, right? We'll have these APIs and SDKs out to allow people to really start experimenting, really start building some cool dApps on the platform. We also want to release the object and scene editors, the low code creation tools to help out those people who aren't experienced developers. And we're going to continue pushing our partnerships and our collaborations there, especially with builder organizations. This is one reason Flow is a very important partner with us. We're trying to build and integrate into ecosystems and bring them into this project, not just do a partnership for shares. Then moving on, Q1 2023, Matrix World 3.0 and Infinite World, right? So this is when we want to launch the full Matrix World. We'll have the programmable NFT support. We'll have all of the creation tools. We want to do some global creator grant event to kind of celebrate and to bring people into our ecosystem. And we also have some other things planned for that time. Should be very interesting, very cool. So as we said, especially with marketing and growing our ecosystem, our collaborators are really important to us, a big part of this. Some we have here like Chain IDE, Flow and Dapper Labs, Hashkey, OpenSea, Mask, White Matrix, Riverman. Okay, we have a lot here. And the list is growing. We're talking to a lot more behind the scenes, trying to make this happen. We just announced our partnership with Blockdo last week. And this is going to be key to building up these developer ecosystems, right? Especially partnerships like Flow. And another huge partnership I want to touch on is this Chain IDE, right? I have to thank them for being hosts of this. But they have this huge developer ecosystem, as many of you know now, if you've been taking these courses the past couple of weeks. And that's going to be very important for building Matrix World. This is one reason we want to help teach these developers, help grow these developers, right? We want to empower them and give them this knowledge through these boot camps. And then hopefully they will come to our ecosystem and build on it and bring the world to life. And Chain IDE is a huge part of this just because of how large their network is, how many developers they have, over 300,000 developers, over 5 million compiled contracts. I think that's even higher now, to be honest. They've had developers from over 185 different countries. So this will be a core partnership with Matrix World. So I think that's a fair overview of the project. We can touch on what the team is focusing on right now. So let's look at the short-term roadmap to get a feel for that. We have Blockto support. So that just launched last week. The wallet support is up. We announced our partnership. And December 6th, tomorrow, we hope the flow lands will be tradable on Blockto Bay. Going forward, we also have some feature upgrades for the website. Land transfers, that's actually live already ahead of schedule. And user profiles, which users can display their different wallet addresses, start building that identity. They can see their lands, land descriptions, land location. And moving on, the upgraded map features. So these are going to be really cool. I don't think any other project is doing it quite like this. So one by one, you'll be able to add an image to your land details, the little description when you click on your map square. 2 by 2, you'll be able to add a short video in your land details to kind of explain your project or what you're doing. Of course, these get more powerful as we move up. A 3 by 3, you'll be able to put an image on the map tile that everybody can see when they look at the Matrix World map. And 6 by 6 will actually be able to put a 3D model on their map tile. So that should be pretty cool. I'm excited to see that roll out. And we're hoping to see that roll out later this month. So pretty soon here. Then moving on into January, quarter 1, 2022. This is where it gets really exciting. We want to release some demos, right? Some demo avatars. I'm thinking 5 to 6 to give the users an idea of what to expect in the world, and some demo spaces as well. Flow headquarters and the Matrix World Museum. There will be a public gallery and there will be a private gallery as well. Okay, so that's kind of the development side of things. And again, the marketing side of things, we're just going to keep building these partnerships, keep trying to find new collaborations where we're actually going to build something together. We're going to join the ecosystem, they're going to join our ecosystem, and they're going to build on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that overview of the project. Jumping into some of the
Recording
features.
stopped.
I said maybe we would get to a couple frequently asked questions. I think we have
Recording
a
in
few.
progress.
So, let me touch on a couple that I see a lot in the Discord and the Telegram. First one, when token, right? Everybody is asking about a token. A lot of our competitors have a token. Now, we don't have a token now. We don't have any specific plans for a token right now, but it's not something we are against. What we are against is having a token that is just released for a speculative investment that doesn't have any utility behind it, that doesn't have any tokenomics behind it, right? So I know everybody, all these new people, they always ask me, when's a token? Why don't you have a token? You need a token. We will 100% consider a token in the future when the time is right, if it's needed for the utility, but right now at the peak of a market cycle, when there's no utility needed for the token, the whole team just feels like that would not be a smart move for the long-term health of the project. Okay, and again, we're trying to build a healthy ecosystem. We're building for the long term, right? And it's still very early, still pre-alpha. Let's see, another common question. People are asking, how can they get into the project? How can they get land? We have an OpenSea collection. We've gotten verified just recently. We have our blue check mark there. Flowland will be available on Blockto hopefully tomorrow. That's the goal. And I know some users are asking about the NFTs, like the FlowFest NFTs that have been given out as well. So those NFTs will be viewable in the Blockto wallet later this month, would be my estimate. We want to focus on getting Blockto up and running as soon as possible so these Flow users can trade, buy, sell their land, and then we can worry about these smaller NFTs. Okay. So I really appreciate all of you for giving me your time today. Thank you all for taking part in this boot camp. I hope you enjoyed that session, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
And actually, I see we have a few more questions here in the chat. So let me touch on some of those. Also, if you have a question about that, you can throw it in the chat really quick and I'll try to get it answered. So let's see here. First one, what's your plan for liquidity on OpenSea? So this is something that's important to remember when you are in a project like this. One, an NFT is never going to have the same amount of liquidity as a token. Okay, that's just fundamental in any NFT collection. Because they are unique tokens, because of the way they are traded, they're never going to have the same liquidity as something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? Where it's a fungible token that can just easily be swapped and has liquidity pools, to make that simple. So any NFT set is going to be a little bit less liquid, even the big ones, right? Now, when you're getting into smaller projects, early projects that aren't in the top 10, that's amplified even more as far as the liquidity is concerned. And that's just the nature of an NFT. What are we going to do to solve that? Well, we're trying to grow the awareness of the project. We're trying to grow the community. And with more people interested, with more eyes on the project, that should help to increase liquidity a bit. Okay, so that's kind of all we can really do there. Now, I know some people are saying that, oh, well, we have all these new users, but the liquidity isn't going up by a crazy amount. And yeah, you're not going to attract a buyer with every user. That's true. But another thing to consider is that by having more users, by having more eyes on the project and more followers, this does make the project stronger and more interesting to the people who do have money to invest and are considering investing. So it still does help the project to grow the user base, even if some of those users aren't going to be buying land. Let's see. When Blockto launch? Again, Mohammed, we already talked about this. We've put it in the announcements. We've kind of beaten this one to death here, so I'm not going to go over that again. December 6th. Matrix token should be good for staking NFTs. Already talked about the Matrix token as well, right? No point to launch a token before there's any utility for it at the peak of a market, right before a potential bear cycle, right, coming next year. So that would just, in our mind, be a little silly there. Computational, yeah, the SVMs. Okay, let me talk about that. So the SVMs will have the compute and memory resources. We don't have the exact numbers, how much compute power, right? How much resource, how much memory you will get based on land size. I don't know if they've settled on an exact number yet, but you will be able to host your own SVM if that is something you'd like to do. And you will be able to combine the resources of multiple lands together if you own all of those lands to make a more powerful SVM, to make a more powerful application. So as far as practical views on the limits, I think we are still a little bit out from having the details on that. You'll just have to stay tuned to the project for any updates regarding that as the development progresses. Locations of partnerships, I'm sorry, those aren't released quite yet. We will release those in time. Will other centralized, decentralized domain name systems be interoperable with the Matrix World name system? Ooh, that's a good one, Omar. I would have to ask the dev team on that. All I know so far on the space name system is they are working on their own system to integrate, to give easy names to your lands so it's easy for users to navigate. I don't know how interoperable that will be with stuff like ENS, DNS. So yeah, we'll have to ask the devs there. Can we link a Web3 domain like .eth, .nft to land and use land and the visitors? That's another good question. Of course, you can get those domains in your land description. I'm not sure if that will link up with the space name server. Right. I read that it will be possible to merge lands in the future. However, this is only for turning 1x1 into 2x2, 2x2, 3x3. No, I believe it's for any adjacent lands. I do not think it has to be a full 2x2 brick. So if you have two 1x1s next to each other, I believe you can merge those as well. Could be an extreme depth to bring the branch. All right, well, I think we touched on all of them there. Thank you guys again. I hope you enjoyed that one.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kale, for introducing Matrix World in a very detail to the audience. I believe the audience will have better understanding of Matrix World now, and all the questions have already been answered. So let's move forward. Now I would like to invite Ms. Blair to share her ideas on the topic, how blockchain gaming is taking the crypto ecosystem to the next level.
Hey guys, good evening. It's Blair from Matrix. I'm the director of incubation and investment department. So glad to be here sharing with you some results of my recent thoughts and practices. Today, my topic is how blockchain gaming is taking the crypto ecosystem to the next level. GameFi is a recurring theme, and you can hear it from like anywhere. So what is GameFi, and how will it impact gamers? In a traditional perspective, the time spent in this digital world is the wasted time, because all the work spent building the strongest army, collecting the best items, or completing the hardest levels will disappear once you leave the game. Now, what if that wasn't the case? You can keep what you build and sell it to others to make a real financial return. This is what GameFi promised. GameFi sits under a new generation. In this generation, digital economies don't just end when the game is shut off, thus blurring the boundary between in-game resources and real-world assets. First, I want to discuss with you guys what is blockchain gaming. To make it clear, the definition of GameFi. GameFi is the combination of game and finance, of course, runs on the blockchain networks designed to merge like the fun of games with the financialization of in-game economies. Distributed ledger technology of the blockchain industry is very important. It is important not only to help players provide verifiable ownership of assets, but also it can help the players to structure marketplaces for trading both inside and outside the games. In this new type of game, all objects are represented as tokens on blockchain networks. So each sword, armor, or plot of lands, any type of items in the games can be owned by you or anyone else on the blockchain-based games. So in other words, every gamer within a blockchain-based game, they become both a participant and an owner. A recurring objective of game is to accumulate resources. Playing game allows you to accumulate more in-game currency. This in-game currency often represented as a fungible token or in-game assets. For example, like the clothes, lands, items in the games. And they often represented as non-fungible tokens. What's key here is that once assets are earned, you can trade them on marketplaces for other cryptocurrencies or fiat money for disposable income. That's how blockchain gaming or GameFi empower all the players participates. Next one is the history of games. Before we look into details of GameFi, I'd like to introduce a brief history of games to help you better understanding the underlying ecosystem of GameFi. What is happening with GameFi is actually a continuation of a decades-long trend, the shift of power from game studios to the players. As you can see, the first stage is pay-to-play model. Almost like all early video games began with the same revenue model. Users paid money to play a game like 20 years ago. The first games like Pac-Man let Pac-Man let the gamers play for a round or two before requiring more payment. Later, games playable on personal computers, such as Call of Duty or World of Warcraft, they sold perpetual license or recurring subscriptions, while transactions were simple. Users didn't have much influence in this stage. Yeah, the most notable improvement was simply more like playing time in the form of content expansion packs. Starting in the late 1990s, we came to the free-to-play stage. The free-to-play games remove paid barrier to entry. Players could download a product, start playing without having a pay upfront, and they can decide if they enjoy it enough to spend more money on it. Businesses made revenue from this model mainly by advertisement or premium add-ons. There is an example in this stage that is the later came through selling customizable appearance known as skins. Skins don't give the buyer any competitive advantage, but still undergo high demand from passionate fans. For example, the game studio Riot Games famously become a multi-billion-dollar company on the back of selling skins for their popular League of Legends franchise. We should pay attention that here is a little bit similarity between these skins and GameFi NFTs. Games in this era are significantly more accessible. Players can try different games and finally select the ones they enjoyed enough and make purchases to support their favorite developers. In this stage, power began to move slowly to the player. Low entry barriers set the stage for the first play-to-earn games. Back in the 2000s, a few free-to-play games like RuneScape launched active marketplaces for in-game items. Players would complete quests to earn gold, use the gold to purchase weapons or armors or any other sort of items. And also they can sell the items for real money to buyers who didn't do the same, but wanna enjoy the game. Of course, during this era, such transactions were never protected by the law, tax agency, or anybody else for that matter. Gamers were able to build their own small digital economy, in a niche corner of the internet. As I mentioned in the last slide, the GameFi is not appearing from nowhere. You can see that. The design philosophy of GameFi system is rooted in and also derived from the traditional gold farming of online games. Free market and gold farming has a long history in online games, but lost competitiveness to the professional players due to the lack of profitability and hardship of operation. Gold farming is to obtain game resources and then sell it to other players. This demand for game resources lies in the following scenarios. First one is that players are willing to pay for better game experience. Second is that with more players entering the game, the total demand for game resource would rise up, apparently. Game economy means the allocation and the circulation of game resources, including the output, transaction, accumulation, consumption of game resource. The game resource output depends on some combination in capital, time, work, and randomness. The life cycle of each game's resource are nested together, structuring a complex in-game economic model. And also, play to earn is the result of it. It is the results of the game producer handing over the right. They handing over the right to produce game resources to the players. In a closed economy, the game producer controls the output and the transaction process of game resources and the profit from selling scarce game resources. But in an open economy, players can trade game resources so as to make profits through resource output. The necessary condition for sustainable play to earn is the continuous willingness to pay for better game experience from a certain player group. With the increasing number of global game users, the overall market scale of game industry has reached 100 billion US dollars. More and more people put considerable time into the virtual world for entertainment. According to Newzoo's latest forecast, the game market will grow at a rate of 8.7% and exceed the 200 billion market size in 2023. It shows that a growing amount of people are willing to pay for virtual experience. A large number of players spend time and also their energy on games, and the play-to-earn model can continue in this environment. In this micro environment. However, the centralized game producer tends to set strict limits, on the circulation of game assets to making profit on their own, instead of sharing their profit to the players. All of these take us to the present and the key question. That is there a massive potential for GameFi? Okay, the concept of play-to-earn game isn't novel. We already know that. But other aspects of GameFi they are quite novel and innovative. Broadly speaking, there is a myriad of possibilities enabled by the combination of crypto primitives, for example, token incentives, smart contracts, and gaming. Utilizing blockchain composability, where tokens from one application are transferable to others. Game NFTs can be both vertically or horizontally integrated into a game studio gaming content. Like objects from one game, for example, digital clothing or outfits can be incorporated into other games to build out a giant world. Outside gaming, tokenized in-game assets can be used for other purpose. For instance, owners of hard-to-obtain in-game items, they will be able to prove their ownership using an NFT, opening up doors for discount for hardcore players or in-person events for gamers, for example, of certain levels. Moreover, highly desirable NFTs sell for significant sums of money, and it is not a stretch to imagine game NFTs going for similar prices. At those valuations, game NFTs can be posted as collaterals for DeFi lending, protocols loaned to individuals who need items for in-game quests. Membership into exclusive digital groups were repurposed for real-world uses. This possibility behind NFTs as financial assets earned through games, it is ripe for innovation and yet to be fully explored. Thanks to the openness of the blockchain ecosystem, the business model on virtual game economy becomes innovative. For example, some third-party guilds emerged. Game producer and gold farming guilds are not competitors anymore. They are not compete for the profit from the game. The guilds can bring in traffic and new blood to the blockchain games, and finally, it can become an important participant of virtual economy. As the community pushes the include new gamers, One challenge is the upfront investment.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Creators, for example, the cost upwards of the Axie Infinity creators is like hundreds of dollars to purchase. This cost is quite high and it's apparently unaffordable for many players, especially the beginners. Long term, this is something game designers need to solve through the game's internal economics. Yeah. Until then, capital pools have formed gaming guilds to help beginners finance initial expenses through scholarships in exchange for a revenue sharing agreement. Let's think of them as coding bootcamp income share agreements, but for games instead of software engineering jobs. Next one, I want to talk about the new tendency of the blockchain gaming, that is from the play to earn to create to earn. Play to earn is great. It bringing a lot of stuff to the blockchain gaming, like the players, the activeness, but it also caused many problems. So we need to find another way to better empower this industry. First one, I want to talk about Roblox. Roblox shows another future direction for blockchain gaming, that is create to earn. Roblox makes money by offering additional services to creators. Creators equipped with a low-code developing game developing tool package, and are encouraged and can making profit from selling their works. For example, games, skins, items, any types of works to the players to give them better game experience. Another valuable feature of blockchain gaming is the programmability of in-game assets. It means users own a create space like for their private property in the virtual world. The creation can be circulated on blockchain in the form of NFT, and they can making profit from selling it. Also, these programmable assets can bring vitality to the blockchain gaming economy. The last one I want to discuss is back to our topic, that is taking game to the next level. Just like all the characters in games needs to keep leveling up, GameFi is just the same. Very fortunately, two big tailwinds work in the ecosystem's favor. The first is increased interest around gaming. The rise of esports and live streaming is a recent development in the last decades. It solidified gaming as like not only a source of entertainment, but also as a legitimate career. Popular games now compete with traditional sports for fandom. An idea many would have deemed unthinkable even 2 decades ago. Crypto gaming specifically has seen a surge in interest. Investment dollars in gaming are among the highest compared to other NFT subverticals, highlighting a shift in revenue. Capital focus as investors started to grasp the opportunities in the space. The second tailwind is continued adoption of cryptocurrency. GameFi is one of several pillars concurrently onboarding new users into crypto. Combined with DeFi, NFTs, Web3, and others, it can increase in total blockchain activity over the next few years. Seems very possible. Jumping from like one vertical to another is frequent. It means that it is likely that GameFi will benefit from it. So what does the future ultimately look like for GameFi? It is a question. Predictions are speculative, but interesting activity and development is happening at an accelerated pace. Having the opportunity to own assets at will, make money from games, and connect with a broader community are widely recognized as compelling features presented in this new crypto vertical. While the future is unknown, one thing is for sure. Up until now, sentiment from participants, including industry executives, like, for example, game studios, all investors, and gamers themselves, they all seem quite optimistic. That's all of my sharings. Thank you for your time, and hope you can enjoy. And enter the blockchain gaming industry. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Blair introduced how blockchain game matters, the way people live, and how game introduces its own ecosystem across the actual world. Thank you so much, Mr. Blair, for such an informative session. Today was the last week for this bootcamp lecture series. Thanks for being with us during this bootcamp. Regarding Global Metaverse Bootcamp team projects, we have already made the teams. All the group leaders should make sure that they are working on their projects with their teammates. And the deadline for project submission is December 18th. If you have any questions regarding team projects, please feel free to ask in our Discord and Telegram channels. And if you like this video, please subscribe our channel, like the video, and share with your friends. Thanks for being with us during this whole bootcamp. So that is the end for today's session.